Welcome back. All right, so rounding out today's season previews, the Nashville Predators, which means, before I get through this, what I have left, we have Montreal, St. Louis, Dallas, San Jose, Philadelphia, Carolina, Calgary, and the New York Islanders. So, those are the 8 remaining. All right, so for Nashville, they finished the 2022-2023 season with the exact same record as Florida, 17th/18th in the league at 42, 32, and 8. But of course, they missed the playoffs, so the storyline around the Nashville Predators is, what now? And it's understandable that this would be a conversation, especially with the moves made in the offseason. Barry Trotz pretty clearly sending a message that this team's going through some kind of a retool, although he's also talked about picking up assets and not mailing it in this year. Who knows what we're going to get with Nashville, really. So their goals scored per game has to get better. 2.72 goals per game. They allowed 2.88, which is good because Saros and Lankinen locked it down. So the goaltending's solid. The defense we know is going to be good because it's Nashville. Nashville's defense is either good or it's not Nashville. Their power play, not great. 17.6%. It feels like this has been a topic of conversation with Nashville for a while. If they can fix their power play and find a few more goals, who knows? They may stay in the race longer than expected. Their penalty kill, very good because defense and goaltending. 82.6% on the penalty kill. So if they can keep that number steady, and if they can keep the goals per game down, again, that keeps them in the hunt. They last made the playoffs in 2022, of course, missing in 2023. The last time they won a round was 2018. So it has been a slow but steady decline for the Nashville Predators since that run to the final in 2017 and then President's Trophy in 2018. And then, again, they've just fallen off a little bit each year and now below the playoff line. Does that descent continue or do they turn it around? So they don't have a Stanley Cup ring. The closest they've gotten is 2017's run to the final against the Pittsburgh Penguins, which was a great run. But again, that's ancient history now. Cap space, $7,906,635. So either Trotz picks up somebody, could pick up a bad contract off another team as an example. I would think a forward, because they're pretty set on the blue line and in net. So, I mean, there's always the possibility they pick up a forward and look to improve things, maybe a center. But either way, if they keep that cap space, they're going to be players in these three-way deals that we're going to see between teams this year. So either way, Nashville's in pretty good shape. Now, their top 5 scorers this year, Roman Josi's the number 1 scorer to the surprise of no one. 67 games, 18 goals, 41 assists, 59 points. A bit of an off year after a 96-point season the year before. But again, Josi can bounce back. I think he can get above the point per game mark. He is really, I think, maybe underrated a little bit in the NHL at this point. But we talk about defensemen a lot and how many good defensemen there are. Spoiler alert, there's a lot. Matt Duchene bought out 71 games, 22 goals, 34 assists, 56 points. He's moved on to Dallas now. That contract was too high. I fully agree on that one with Barry Trotz. I don't know if I agree necessarily with buying him out, but you know what? Trotz is a new GM. I'm willing to give him a little bit of leeway on this. Novak, 51 games, 17 goals, 26 assists, 43 points. Kind of came out of nowhere and played really, really well. And so seeing how Novak plays over a full 82-game schedule this year should be interesting. Philip Forsberg missed a large portion of the season, only played 50 games due to injury, 19 goals, 23 assists, 42 points. If the Nashville Predators are going to be competitive, if they're going to stay in the hunt and maybe become a surprise playoff team in the West, they're going to need Forsberg to stay healthy and they're going to need him to be productive, right? So there's really no way around that. Granlund, 58 games before the trade to Pittsburgh, 9 goals, 27 assists, 36 points, was still the 5th leading scorer. So this shows that they absolutely need some offense. They need some additions there, and we'll see if some of the additions here help. Now, of course, goaltending. UC Saros, 64 games, a record of 33, 23, and 7, 919 save percentage. One of the best goalies in the league. You can make the argument for the best goalie in the league for Saros. You can. But again, the over-under on how many games you're going to hear about how short he is, don't make a drinking game out of it. So Lankinen, 19 games, 9-8-1 record, 916 save percentage. It was nice to see Lankinen playing in Nashville, out of Chicago, and seeing just how good he can be, right? So another year like that, that's huge. Askarov got into one game, lost that game, and had an 886 save percentage. So Askarov is the next one, but there's no rush with him. You've got Saros, you've got Lankinen. That's not too shabby. Now, their hits leader was Lauzon with 250 hits. I'm not going to say that Lauzon's like a great defenseman or anything, but 250 hits is impressive. Block shots, Ryan McDonough. Fit right in out of Tampa Bay. 165 block shots for him. He provides good veteran leadership on this blue line. Posts, Granlund had 5 before the trade to Pittsburgh, and 4 players on the Nashville Predators hit 4 posts. So, not a lot of posts hit overall, but interesting of note that 4 players hit 4 of them. Considering some of the teams I've done previews for, we've seen guys with as many as 12. I think 4 is okay. The next one with Nashville, so again, who might be the next star out of their development system? I went with Kemmel. Still think Kemmel could end up being a steal out of that draft. We shall see. Fantasy sleeper, I went with Gurianov. Gurianov has scored 20 goals in the recent past in a season. I could see with Nashville needing help on the power play and having room there for a gifted goal scorer to step in. Maybe Gurianov gets back up to that 15 to 20 goal barrier. Maybe he gets back into the 40-point range. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's possible. That's why you call it a sleeper, right? Otherwise, I'd be talking about blue chippers, but I like to talk about sleepers. Now, the MVP, it's either Saros or Yossi. I went with Yossi. If this team's going to stay in the hunt and maybe get above the playoff line, I think Yossi's going to have to play completely out of his mind. Saros, you know what you're going to get with Saros, but personally, I think it's going to be Yossi. But either way, I think those are pretty solid players, whether you're going with Saros or Yossi. The schedule is interesting. The schedule, October 31st to November 9th, they have a 5-game road trip. If they come out of that 5-game road trip with, say, a 3-1-1 record, they might stay in this hunt because 9 of their next 10 games are at home. So if they can have a decent road trip and then assert themselves at home and get into a nice run at home, they could get that cushion, get those wins, and get that confidence and necessary momentum for playoffs. Now, the channel's not optimistic about this team being one of the top teams. 2% of the vote said that they will be first or second. 25% of the vote had them third or fourth. 60%, so more than half, voted fifth or sixth for the Nashville Predators, and 13% said seventh or eighth. So the overall numbers would indicate 73% of the channel believes this team will be fifth or worse. Totally get why. The Central Division, again, their strength doesn't seem to be where it once was, say, 4 or 5 years ago, but still, I think it'll be tough for the Nashville Predators to break into the top 4. Now, changes in the lineup, there's not a lot, comparatively speaking, with other teams, but they're substantial. Sacrificing Duchesne and Johansson down the middle, that's remarkable. I would say it's risky, but you've got a team that missed the playoffs. Johansson underachieved. They got that contract off the books. Underachieving as well from Duchesne. His contract's off the books mostly with the buyout. Borowiecki, of course, retired. Cal Foote ends up moving on. And Sanford is out as well. Now, the additions, Ryan O'Reilly, who could have a bit of a bounce-back season. I'm not expecting a tremendous amount of points, but probably a bit of a bounce-back from last year. Nyquist, who was good. Gustav Nyquist had a good season last year just because of the relative obscurity of where he was in the lineup and the fact there wasn't a lot of attention paid to it. I thought he was good. Gurianov, as mentioned, could end up being a bounce-back player for them as well. He had a decent run with Montreal after the trade out of Dallas. He desperately needed to get out of Dallas, and maybe playing in Nashville will help because he'll be against Dallas at least, you'd think, 3-4 times this year. Luke Schenn has also been an addition. Maybe a bit pricey with Schenn's contract, but again, this is a team that isn't any kind of cap trouble. And they do pretty well when it comes to picking up defensemen, and I trust Barry Trotz. So we'll see how it all works out. So with Trotz in his GM, you also have Andrew Burnett in his coach. Andrew Burnett showed in Florida he can coach offense. So it's possible that just having Burnett as coach brings up the goals for. It's a matter of getting the goals for up and not having the goals against go up, right? So you want guys to go out there and play that offensive style. You don't want to take the defensive structure out. So we'll see what his style is and how it meshes with this Nashville roster. Again, they may still add to this team. This may not be the finished product when it comes to the Nashville Predators. Novak, Barry, Carrier are 2024 UFAs. So one player that's not at the top of this board here is Tyson Barrie. a full season with Nashville, he may end up with 45, 50 points. Again, he'd have to stay healthy to do that, but he could. And considering his contract's up, that is quite possible. Alexander Carrier, I think they find a way to keep him. Carrier's been fantastic. Going into the last expansion draft out of Seattle, they were very careful to make sure Carrier was protected, that they weren't going to lose one of their coveted blue liners. And so I don't see any reason why they're not going to sign him to an extension and keep him around. The Nashville Predators are really at kind of a crossroads here. This could be a retool / rebuild that we're entering into, or maybe Barry Trotz, his plans will change, and we'll see this team back above the playoff line sooner rather than later. This is a team that hadn't missed the playoffs since, and it depends on how you look at it. Again, in 2020, they lost the qualifying round, so they got playoff stats. Not technically, I guess, in the playoffs, so a bit sketchy there, but the fact they lost against Arizona, you want to beat Arizona. You were ahead of them in the seeding. I believe it was 6 versus 11 in that series, and so that was a tough one. And prior to that, the last time they'd missed the first round of the playoffs was 2014. So this is a team that's had a lot of playoff success, a lot of excitement. Definitely some of the loudest fans in the National Hockey League. And again, they might be entering into a period here where things get just a little bit quieter and their points totals maybe drop off a bit. But this team has not been sub 500 since the 2012-2013 season. Maybe this is the year, but I think Saros is going to win them games. I think this defense is going to win them some games. It's just a matter of finding the goals. And again, losing Duchesne and Johansson, it would look like they lost a bunch of goals, but Duchesne had 22 and Johansson had 12 when he played. So that's 34 goals. The additions of O'Reilly, Nyquist, Gurianov, does that equal 34 goals? Maybe. And so the goal scoring could at the very least be the same. It may be on Novak or a player not on the board, Evangelista. If Evangelista plays the whole full season this year the way he played last year when he got called up, that guy could be a big difference maker and definitely would be a top 5 scorer on the team this year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding the Nashville Predators. Are they a team that's going to get back above the playoff line, or are we going into a retool rebuild? How much faith do you have in Trotz if you are a Nashville fan? And how much faith do you have in Andrew Burnett as the coach? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And yep, we only have 8 teams left after this one. And then we get ready for training camp. So thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.